We are watching the potential for a blizzard this weekend in areas of the eastern United States. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie, and welcome back to the channel. We got a lot to go over today. A lot of model runs, a lot of model guidance in general. We're going to look at the latest runs from a bunch of different, the Euro, the JFS, their AI companions here. And then we're also going to look at one short range model as we get closer. We'll look at some snowfall graphics to show you guys what you could be getting. And we'll also explain the pattern a little bit, see if we can kind of decipher why this event looks so favorable as of now. So like this video if you like it, subscribe if you've not done that already, and please comment down below where you're watching from. I'd greatly appreciate that. So before we get really into this, I'm going to say one thing, and that is none of what you see is final. If you live in areas of Georgia that have kind of been on the line this whole time, if the graphics I show you today don't put you in it, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get anything. We've actually seen this system tick south and west a little bit. Some model guidance has done that. West in general has been the trend, but there are some, including the Euro, old reliable, that tick it south every now and then. So we're seeing that. So just watch it. None of this stuff is final yet. The only reason I'm saying this now is because I know for a fact that the majority of you that watch this video are still around at this point. Later, I don't know when you guys click off. So that's why I'm leading with that. So we're going to start off with the Euro. All model guidance is going to be started off Friday morning. And the reason for that is because in this area in general, there could be some stuff ongoing. As we get earlier, I'm going to make sure this circle is gone. There we go. So here we go. Latest Euro from this morning in the overnight hours as well. So here we go. This is getting into, early Saturday, late Friday, early Saturday. This is in the wee hours of the morning, 1 to 3 a.m. And, we have some snow in the southern Appalachians and getting into North Carolina and Virginia early Saturday morning. And it's getting into far northern Georgia, same with South Carolina. But where does it go after? Well, we get here. This is Saturday at like 10 a.m. So just the sun's up. Most people are awake by this point. We got, an area of more intense snow along the southern Appalachian Mountains. It's starting to break containment too. And that just means it's kind of moving east of the mountains. It's not just higher elevations. But, the entire upstate of South Carolina has got something falling. And watch this rain down here. Just in general, I'll show you multiple model runs. We'll have to see if that happens. That might be snow. We'll have to see how cold it is. But anyway, and also notice this low, 1,007 millibars. Just kind of watch where that is here. This is Saturday morning. We move this on, and it kind of, the axis of snow moves east. We're getting into Saturday evening here. The sun has just gone down at this point, and you kind of got this band of heavier snow through the central Carolinas, down maybe even as far south as Jacksonville, Florida. We'll have to watch. There's moisture down that far south, but we'll have to see if it actually falls as snow. And you see this low, 1,007 millibars. This is trending towards, it's trending west, so it's trending towards land. And if it's as strong as modeled, this could be a high wind event as well. This kind of breaking up of moisture here, it could happen. I don't know if it will, though. This is kind of like a dry slot almost. We'll have to see where the moisture goes. And notice, I feel bad for you guys in the far eastern areas of North Carolina that started this event off with model guidance, showing you snow. You may well get it. I'm not saying that, you should give up hope, but we are starting to see some rain getting in here because this is trending west. By the way, we expected that. So if I failed to mention that, that's on me. But I probably did say that these things like to trend west, especially northwest. So we'll see what happens, right? But we move this on, the area kind of fills in, so we have an axis of very heavy snow getting into the overnight hours. This is around midnight, a Sunday night. And, areas of heavy snow in the eastern Carolinas up through the Chesapeake Bay, Tidewater areas of Virginia, and then just This low is close, so there's some rain mixing in, but very heavy snow. I will say that this is cold enough at this point that the snowfall ratios will be higher. Typically, they're 10 to 1, which means for every 1 inch of liquid that would have fallen, it's 10 inches of snow. We could be seeing 15 to 1, 20 to 1 ratios in some cases here. So it means that you're much more efficient at snowing, if that makes any sense. And also, I mean, these rates are pretty high. It's heavy snow, not just efficient snow. So there could be some high totals, and there are. I'll go ahead and say that. We'll show them to you later. We move this on, and it kind of rides up the coast here. And not to leave the people further to the north, not to leave you guys hanging. This is what it looks like for you guys. So we have this kind of roll up the coast. This is kind of trended inland. Again, it's trended west. That's a 965 low. That is really, really strong. But there's actually, you can kind of see three. There's this one, and then there's another one here, and then there's another one down here. We'll see how the evolution of this goes, but it scrapes up the I-95 corridor, but it's starting to trend inland enough where people along it could see it. It's not necessarily only out over the water, but we see areas of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island just get slammed with heavy snow for many hours, as well as really windy conditions. 967 low, not that far offshore. And then Atlantic Canada gets this. And you actually switch, it's so amplified and it runs into you that you switch to rain maybe. So we'll see. That's the latest Euro. How about the GFS model? Been continually showing a big hit, right? This is, again, starting off at Friday morning. So this is the latest, and here we go. Real area of snow really gets going by Saturday morning. But see how there's moisture in the southern Appalachians and the deep south kind of rolling through. We'll see how cold it is. But like, say this green blob in areas of Georgia and Alabama, that could be light snow. We'll see. I don't know. We get really into Saturday morning here. Just area snow is much more established. And notice, I do want you to notice this, that areas in this area on the GFS are not hit as much as they are on the Euro. And the GFS has been kind of consistent. I'm going to go back a few runs here. So on the GFS, we've seen, if anything, in the past few runs, it stays exactly the same. So areas west of the South Carolina border here, where it borders Georgia, are really going to struggle based on the GFS. This is not a forecast. This is not final. It's just what it shows right now. But we move this on here, and then, this is a very heavy area of snow. You'll see, and this low actually runs into the Outer Banks. That's a 986 low there. So this is getting into the overnight hours, about midnight Sunday night. And we have this low right here, running into the Outer Banks and raining in those areas. But just west of it, this area would be the jackpot area based off of the GFS. Really, really high rates, and they're also really, really high ratios as well. So be very efficient at it, and it'd be snowing really, really heavy. We move this on. Low pulls offshore, and then it does hit these areas of the Outer Banks and far eastern North Carolina in general with very heavy snow. It doesn't whiff you guys necessarily, and it gets up into the Tidewater, Chesapeake Bay, and up as far as southern Delaware. And then again, I'll zoom this out and just show you guys the eastern U.S. as a whole. And we move this on, and so the GFS has kind of been more consistently offshore. Again, with the past several runs. So notice that southward tick over the past several runs. This is back like 3 runs, and this is the last run. So it does move south, but it really only hits eastern areas of Massachusetts, getting into Rhode Island, Connecticut, eastern areas, but it's not as much of a hit for you guys. And then it keeps Atlantic Canada all snow. It doesn't really switch y'all to rain here. So something to watch. That's the latest GFS. And how about the Canadian model? Starting off Friday morning. And you see this is freezing rain down here in areas of the deep south. We'll have to watch that. This is kind of one of those scenarios where it is just cold enough to fall as something frozen. But, see this area of snow in Kentucky and the Virginias here. And you're like, oh, it's fading away. It doesn't fade away. We get into Saturday morning here. The low is way down here, so we'll have to watch where that is. But you can, I mean, this is a much broader snow here. Just areas of almost all of Tennessee with snow, not all of it, but almost. The northern areas of the deep South states, a lot of South Carolina, a lot of North Carolina, the Virginias, Kentucky on the southern fringes. But this is all lighter snow. This is not really heavy stuff. And it does begin to pick up as we get into Saturday afternoon. Be like just after lunch, not a forecast, have areas of heavier snow in these areas and these areas. And notice where this rain snow line is. I don't know if it will be, I don't think it will be this warm, honestly. It does switch these areas in the next frame. This is getting into the overnight hours. The sun has just gone down at this point, and it switches you guys to snow. But I don't, at this point, like this frame here, this is nitpicky, I know. But I don't know if you guys are going to be rain. It might be cold enough. We'll see. 1,000, a sub 1,000 low at this point. It's kind of a mix between the Euro and GFS, where it gets close to land and does mix. It puts some rain in the far eastern areas. But I think you guys switch. Yeah, you do switch to snow, and you actually might start as snow. So at this frame here, this is midnight Sunday, and these areas in general with very, very heavy snow. Notice how it keeps snow in these areas longer, so that it just kind of, even though it's lighter snow, it piles up, right? And we move this up the coast here. I'll freeze it here, and we'll look at the eastern U.S. as a whole. So let's see. And yeah, Sunday afternoon here. And it's kind of a mix, but it follows more the GFS solution, where it just scrapes the I-95 corridor. It doesn't really hit it as well. 962, 960s just in general. 960s low. In the Atlantic, very, very heavy snow over Cape Cod, for example, and up into Atlantic Canada, and it's a little bit further offshore. So how about if we look at this frame here, where has this thing been trending? We'll go back a few runs. So the Canadian has not been consistent like the rest. Look at, it's kind of jumped all over the place, but those last few runs, it has kind of ticked south. Something to watch. I think we are seeing a southward tick with this, which is an interesting thing considering most of them trend to the northwest. So here are two AI models. We use these because they're decent at pattern recognition. I'm probably not going to show them in the next couple of videos just because we get closer, and I don't know how they do in the really short range. They seem to be decent. They seem to be pretty good at the long to mid to long range. But again, starting out Friday morning, area of snow develops in the southern Appalachians. We can't zoom in any further, unfortunately, but this is as close as we get. This is earlier, too. This is like midnight Saturday night, and there's already snow in the southern Appalachians, and then it intensifies. So upstate South Carolina, northern Georgia, I mean, eastern areas of Tennessee get some, eastern areas of Kentucky, western areas of Virginia, not a forecast, not final or anything like that. Does it, the Euro AI, that's what this is, it does show some mixing here in this band. I do think we may have some, but I think this is more of it's either raining or snowing or nothing. I don't think it's going to be something where we have this corridor of sleet or freezing rain like we're seeing here. I mean, it shows up as rain/snow mix. This is sleet or ice, so it's not sleet. This would be, I guess, freezing rain. I don't know if we're gonna get that, but again, not that important here. 997 low, and it does keep the low further offshore, but and you mixed with some sleet, maybe freezing rain, but you do switch to snow afterwards in the eastern areas of North Carolina that moves up the coast. Atlantic Canada smashed with with snow here, and then we move this on. There's another system, but it doesn't really hit the south. Who knows what that thing is? I mean, this is Wednesday, about a week from now. So who knows? I sure don't. Not the long range like that. Don't like to focus on the long range too much. How about the AI GFS here? Same deal. It's just larger. I mean, the area of snow is just bigger. Getting into Saturday morning, all of Tennessee, and nearly all of Kentucky with some snow. It's light stuff. It's not heavy. Southern Appalachians with the heavier stuff right now. Notice like this blob of rain here. I don't know if we would really get that. I think it will be cold enough, but it might not be. Again, I mean, all of this rain in eastern Georgia, southern 2/3, 3/4 or so of South Carolina. I think that might be, in the very least, it might be a mix. I don't think it's just going to be straight rain. But you got to switch, and it keeps the axis of heavy snow over the Carolinas here. We like to call this kind of a Carolina special. That's what it's called. And it rolls up the I-95 corridor, but doesn't really hit it too heavy. Keeps the low further offshore and the moisture offshore as well. And it gets out of our way. So this is our one short range model we're going to show you. By tomorrow at this time, I will likely have more short range models I can show you. I really only have one other one. That's the RRFSA model. It's not bad, but it has been flip-flopping like crazy over the past few runs. And I don't want to show you something that's doing that much of flipping around, because by the time I get this posted, it might show something else. This has been more consistent. This is a Canadian-based short-range model. It doesn't go through the full event. But it also has some freezing rain in the deep south as we're getting into Friday morning. There's that area of snow. These are 1 hour increments, so it's a little bit smoother. And then by this time, this right here is midnight, 1 a.m., right in this frame here. And we have sporadic snow showers, and it kind of begins to fill in here. This will be about 5 a.m. Saturday morning, and we just have areas of snow, and it kind of pivots around, so you can see the low, 1,004 millibar low right here out over the ocean, and then you see these blue dotted lines are our upper trough. So the trough is digging south, and the low is kind of going like this. So there's equal and opposite reaction, and of course right in the middle, something goes on. And we have it. I mean, there's a lot of snow on this run here. So move this on. We only have a few more frames. But notice, like, these blobs are really, really heavy snow. And probably wet snow, possibly. So who knows with that? I don't know if it will. Yeah, we can't pull soundings with this. But this would likely be pretty wet snow. And I want you to also note this thing. There's like a feature in there. I'll back up a few frames. That kind of highlighted area of snow that rolls through. There's some sort of surface trough, and what that is you see these black lines. They kind of kink a little bit right here. So there's some sort of trough at the surface that kind of is pushing up like that. So it could locally enhance your snowfall. It's a feature that's been showing up on some model guidance, but nothing too crazy. And that's the last frame we have. But if you kind of look at the animation, I would assume that this low would run into land here. But very heavy snow in some areas. It's a big hit. So I will just briefly, if it shows me, this is the total snowfall based on the 10-to-1 ratio, which will be higher, most likely. So multiply these totals by 1.5, maybe 2. It still shows an area, and these areas here, that have, locally a lot over. I mean, you see these colors showing up, that's over a foot. That little area right there. So who knows? This is not a forecast either, but it shows a pretty solid footprint of snow. For the event is not even done yet. So for that time frame, it's pretty solid. So what about some other totals? We're going to run through this a little bit quicker, but I'm just going to show it to you. This is the operational euro from this morning. This is how much it dropped. We have the Southern Appalachians to start this event, and the Smokies, a lot of snow, higher elevation based. And then we kind of move this. It breaks containment, though. And the northeast areas of Georgia with a lot of it. Gainesville, for example, is on the line. You go down towards Atlanta, and it really drops off on this run, not a forecast. But notice your eyes are obviously drawn here. That's 14 inches of snow between Fayetteville and the Raleigh-Durham area. So, that's something to watch. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but this is the Euro after all. Pretty reliable. And you can see our area here in this kind of orangey rust color or more. These are areas of 6 inches or more. And then you can see the secondary maximum in this area. So this is because in this area it dry slides. The Euro does just a little bit. That's why the totals are a little bit lower. But you still, like in New Bern, Jacksonville, you still have 3 inches or so. That's enough to do something with. That's enough to cause impacts. So watch this. We'll see where this goes. The run before us, for example, I mean it moves around. It kind of had this a little bit further south on the last run. What about the run before this? This was a huge run. I remember seeing this come in yesterday and just being shocked by it. I mean, you can see it here, nearly 20 inches of snow in these areas. So a ton of snow. But this is what the latest run looks like. Notice that westward tick from this to this. Everything moved inland a little bit. So just it's something to watch. And Cape Cod here, you're sitting nicely at 2 feet based on the Euro, not a forecast. Atlantic Canada also just gets demolished by snow. There's our overall footprint. How about the GFS? Well, I mean, the GFS is the GFS. And it doesn't fail to show something crazy. I just want to make sure. Yes, okay. Never mind. I was making sure that the snow liquid ratio on the Euro was selected to the Kuchera ratio, and it was. So we have an area here of over 2 feet of snow from areas south of Fayetteville. I mean, there's no city showing up here. I don't know why, but Fayetteville over to Goldsboro, Wilson, Rocky Mount, Durham, Wake Forest. I mean, even Greenville, North Carolina here. And then there's another little maximum down here of at least 2 feet, kind of out in the coastal areas. And then the Chesapeake Bay, Virginia Beach area with nearly 30 inches of snow. But notice the GFS does drop this off a little bit sooner here, right pretty much at the border. It drops, about half a foot on my house, 5 inches down to Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. You have more than measurable snow. So that's the latest with that. And it rolls up the coast. And then again, there's some agreement here. It drops at least a foot and a half on Cape Cod and hits Atlantic Canada pretty hard as well. Broad look, there you go. How about the Euro AI? This is only the 10-to-1 ratio. This site doesn't offer anything else. Just these. So these totals would be higher. Again, multiply these by 1.5 or 2 maybe. But this is still very much a notable and impressive signal here. This is that kind of Southern Appalachian start event where there's a blob of snow initially. And here it is. It's less than 6 inches, but that's along the Smokies. Then Rock Hill, Charlotte area is in the maximum here. And then down, a few to several inches in my area of the woods. And then we have, Columbia with several over to Florence. That's what this 3.18, that's where you guys are. And the Euro AI does like the idea of keeping this snow a little bit in areas of Georgia. So Gainesville down to Augusta, Athens area. You got something. But Atlanta, we'll have to watch this. If you're in Atlanta, do have some viewers there. Keep a close eye on this, and please don't give up on it yet. By tomorrow and Friday, if we're still looking at this, maybe. But this is ticking west. I mean, think about if this ticked due west by 50 miles, what you would be looking at. Just think about it. Don't give up yet. And then we look up here. A little bit less in Cape Cod. Keeps the highest totals out over the water. And still gets Atlantic Canada pretty good. There's your broad look at that. And then here is the Canadian model. So the Canadian is widespread 20s in some of these areas. Mid to upper teens and 20s. There's at least 2 feet showing up in this area. And then a locally higher area in the Chesapeake Bay. I mean, what would this be? I'm just curious. Yeah, that's like 3 feet or so. So just keep an eye on it. This is not a forecast. This is not final, but notice that it really does like Georgia. I mean, if you're in Atlanta, you want to see this, right? 4.5 inches in Atlanta. So watch this. And it gets much further south. And then you can see it goes up the coast. I don't have another frame pulled up here, but it keeps Cape Cod with at least a foot. So that's the latest with that. And then we have the Euro Ensemble. This is I might stop showing you guys this as we get closer. It's a good model. Don't get me wrong, but we're getting close enough here where we have short range models to go over, but this is the latest that we have on this site. This is only a 10-to-1 ratio as well. You have a 4 to 5 inch mean in the Raleigh-Durham area, down to Greenville, Jacksonville, Fayetteville, over to Rock Hill and Charlotte area. Drops off quickly to the south. I mean, Atlanta, you got something, but it's a really low signal. Even my area of the woods with only a couple inches mean here. I would take a couple of inches. Don't get me wrong. I want something, but in comparison to some of the other model runs, it's not quite as impressive. And of course, it's not. This is a ensemble between 51 members, so there's going to be some that don't show anything. But on the Euro ensemble, Eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island, you have more than measurable snow here. Out on the Cape, about 10 to 12 inches, and then really gets Atlantic Canada going. There's a broad look. What about the GFS ensemble here? A little higher. I mean, I say a little. It's a few inches higher. Raleigh-Durham area is sitting at about 8 inches. A lot of the same areas are targeted, though, and then it really gets going out over the waters, amplifies. It keeps areas of, say, Gainesville, Augusta, Athens, Georgia area with some snow. You're dropping off, but it's not bad. And along the coastal areas, even as far south as Charlotte, Charleston, there's 1.5 inches showing up. Not to get too hyper detailed with the forecast or anything like that. This video is getting longer, so let's get into the pattern here. I'm going to start all this off at the same time. So this is our upper level. This is going to show us where we have troughing, where we have below average pressures and cooler air. That's what this is for. The blues correspond to that, cooler air, and this kind of salmon pink color you see surrounding it is the opposite. It's warmer air, higher pressure, this and that. Anyway, here we go. You can see this area, this blob. This is getting into just after midnight Saturday. So getting into probably 4 or 5 a.m. Saturday. And we have this trough digging like that. This looks a lot different. This is the operational Euro, not the Euro ensemble. And look at how the Euro has changed. This is insane. I looked at this earlier and it blew my mind. This thing's digging south. But just this whole area here, this is really, really cold air and low pressure loft. That's what this is. And it's bigger than that. It's really the entire area in here is just really cold aloft. That's what tells me we're not going to have any mixing issues. But this is Saturday afternoon. So this would be about 4 p.m. and it's making its passage through. And then look at this thing. It stays the same strength as it goes up the coast. Kind of diminishes a little bit, but what a signal. Now, if we take this frame, or this one here, go back a few runs, look at that. And notice how in these last few runs, I'll start it here. This was like 4 or 5 runs ago. Here we go. It kind of nestles down to the south a little bit. The south and west. It kind of moved like that, just ever so slightly. And that's going to be important. This is our upper levels. So here we go. This is our energy. This is vorticity. Just think about this as energy in the atmosphere. This is the same height, 500 millibars, 3 or 4 miles above your head. Move this on in time here, and you can obviously see our area. It's highlighted. This is Saturday morning when this event is starting in some of these areas. That is the worst color possible. I apologize. In these areas, it's getting going now. And you can see our main area of energy kind of digging down like this, and it will pivot like that. So just watch it. And here we go. Yeah, and it kind of curls up here. When you see it look in this frame right here, it's getting into Saturday evening. When you see it kind of curl like this, that's when it's reaching its maturity, essentially. And the earlier it does this, let's say it did it over here, then that would just mean more snow. But it also could introduce some warm air into the far southern areas. That's not a forecast. I don't expect that to happen. Just a possibility. And we move this on, and it really curls up on itself and starts spinning around out over the Atlantic. And yeah, so you can see it pivots down and it curls up. It's a big hit for that reason. Now, how about our surface temperatures? This is important as well. If your temperatures are well above freezing, you're not going to get anything frozen to happen, of course. So the freezing line is denoted by where it turns blue on this map. So just watch where that is. This is the operational euro as well. So this keeps through Friday. It keeps areas in some of these risk areas a little warm for snow. But notice how that line drops south getting into Saturday, early Saturday morning, and stays there. I mean, it stays pretty far south through the entire day Saturday. So most of the Carolinas stay at or below freezing most of the day. And there's like 20s showing up, teens in areas. So that's very, very cold. And then that freezing line goes past the coast, except for far eastern areas. And then where does it go after? I mean, it sticks around. We're getting into Sunday afternoon. We might get above freezing in some of these areas that got snow, but not really. And yeah, this is that's all we got. So our surface temperatures are in check as of now. We're not really seeing any issues with warming. How about do this on the fly a little bit? Look here, just where this event is starting. Where has this gone over the past few runs? I'll just show you several. So maybe a tick west with these temperatures. You kind of see it goes all over the place in the last few runs. Maybe a tick north and west. So that our coastal areas here, but this is not the only area. I mean, if we move on a few frames to here, this has gone virtually nowhere over the past several runs. Maybe a little bit north and west, but not really. So our temperatures are in check. Now, how about our mid-level temperatures? This level is the 700 millibar level. This is the last thing I'm going to show you. At least I think it is. 700 millibars, that would be 2 or 3 miles above your head. This is the freezing line aloft. Look at how far south that thing is. For noting, the last event where we got a lot of areas got ice and rather didn't get snow, maybe got a lot of sleet or whatever, this line was like riding along the area. Look at how far south it is. And some of these values up in here are, this is in Celsius, I believe. Yeah, Celsius. So, we have -15, -20 Celsius. This is starting off Friday morning. Where does it go after? Well, where does it go? Here we go. You see that area of pinks? That is very cold. -25, -30 Celsius, dropping south. And we get through the day. This is Saturday morning. And this is just really cold air. There's that low. This is the surface low that pops off, 999. And it starts to roll up the coast, but it's so cold aloft, guys. So with this event, what we're going to have to worry about is the surface temperature being too warm for snow, but I think most of these areas will not see that issue. And our mid-levels and upper levels look very cold. I don't know if it has a 500 millibar temperature thing or not. I guess not. But it's very cold in the upper levels as well. Very cold. And that should be all I have for you. So yeah, we're going to end with this. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to end with this. I will get a video out probably this evening as well. Just be doing 2 a day, and we'll get into our short range model guidance as soon as we can. I'll bring you guys the latest information this evening with whatever we got. So thank you for watching. Tune in next time, and I will see you guys then.